Can't Be Bothered podcast.
Oh yeah, with our dogs.
With our dogs, episode 5. This episode's gonna be really fun. We're talking about our favorite topic, which is ourselves.
Don't give everything away,
Yeah.
Anna. Oh man, it's true though. We love to talk about the Capricorn vibes, and it's such a thread in every area of our life. So yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Going to be really fun. I am so proud to be a Capricorn today and every day. And it was a huge part of Abbi and I's beginning of our friendship. So every time we talk about our Cap selves, I feel like I'm just reunited to that time. So we're going to talk about being a Cap and also just like some icons that we see in the reality TV world of Capricorns. There's not much representation, but whatever is out there is pretty accurate. So
yeah, we are a little bit underrepresented in reality TV, but it is always very exciting to like scroll through that article, that BuzzFeed article, what's all their astrology signs, and then you're like, fucking Capricorn, yes. Yeah, but it doesn't always fit the mark, eh? Sometimes they represent and sometimes they don't. So I'm really curious to hear your opinions and see where we feel the same way and where we feel differently about it.
Yeah, for sure. I have some things I think we may disagree on, so we'll get to it. Just to say too, for our dogs that are on our screens are not ours, and they're also not Capricorns, but their mamas are Capricorns, and that's what matters most. So I have Katie Maloney's Gordo and Butter behind me here. Abbi is accompanied by a bunch of them.
Several dogs. I do not know their names because there are so many of them. But they belong to Kyle Richards, who is the Capricorn dog mama in this case.
Yes.
And I just always remember when I think about Kyle, I think about like this one episode early on where she opens her door and like the mailman is coming or something, and all the dogs just run out. And she's like, "No, get back here." And she's trying to chase them all inside.
I knew you were going to say that as soon as you said a memory of Kyle. I was like, it's going to be that. Marissa!
Oh, shit. I just broke my little stand that I was on.
Oh, no. Okay. And we pivot.
We do be passionate. We do be breaking things.
Is it the Cap or is it an Aries moon? Who knows?
My God, yes.
Yeah. So for those of you who maybe missed our intro episode, Abbi and I both have Capricorn suns and we both have Aries moons. We have different other parts of our charts, but I feel like that alone says a lot about who we are, and the ways that we're similar. So we do be Aries strong.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, at all the right moments.
To us.
Yeah, sure. We can justify anything.
Yeah, exactly. So some traits of being a Capricorn, some of my favorite are being, outspoken. For me, that shows up more as being passionate than anything else. I care a lot about shit. And so I try to be as vocal as I can about that. And also very blunt and rigid at times too. I do find myself like in moments saying things and I'm like, ooh, is that a bit too blunt?
Yeah, I've definitely been given that feedback before, but I don't deny it. Like, I don't like to sugarcoat things.
No.
I like to tell it like it is. I'm not like going to be a complete asshole about it, when possible, but
yeah.
But I do like to be right to the point. I don't pull any punches, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I also feel like there's something to be said about being like a Capricorn woman too, and like the kind of energy that holds in personal life and also professional life, because Capricorns really prioritize their work and that's a huge part of our identity. And so I think being so blunt and outspoken is both a good and a bad thing at times, depending on who the audience is and depending on who you're surrounding yourself by. As reality TV is a job, I feel like that is such a great spot for that, and I think it's great.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, in business, like with our careers being so important, it is a good quality for like leadership and advancement, and getting the job done.
Being
but
competent.
being competent. But like in a relationship, that definitely makes it a little bit more difficult, especially depending on what sign you're paired up with. And,
Totally.
that's something that will break down here as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Katie Maloney and Kyle Richards are really coming to mind in the ways that they've shown up on screen. But yeah, we will definitely get to that. It's just interesting to think of like Capricorns working in reality TV. It's hilarious because yeah, they would show up and show out because they're Capricorns, just with
Yeah.
drama, you know?
I feel like Capricorns too have this way of like always keeping everybody at an arm's length. Like
Yeah.
they, like they show up and they're super loyal. Like this is someone you want to
Yes.
have your back and you want to be on their good side or like have them on your team because they will fucking go to bat for you.
Yep.
But if you're not on their team, it can be a very different story.
It's also kind of going alongside with the bluntness as well, like not getting too overly emotional. And I do see a note that we have in our shared doc about until enough build up and then there may be blow up.
Yes.
That is so accurate. I feel like we've seen that a lot on screen with women keeping themselves an arm's length away from
Yeah.
people. And then there's this like huge moment. And I feel like we really saw that in Heather Dubrow this season, which I know we talked about last episode, where she finally just like tapped out, blew up, whatever way you kind of want to describe it. There is kind of a breaking point with Capricorns, I feel like.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think also because we care so much about how we're perceived
Yeah.
and we really want to be portrayed as competent
Yeah.
and reliable, and I think competent being the top thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes there's like more, I guess, consideration that goes into our next move or what we're going to say
Yeah.
or how we're going to respond because we want to like maintain this image of being competent and not like lose our cool because that means losing our credibility.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
it does get to a breaking point sometimes where that bluntness comes up and that like passion comes up and we're
Mhm.
that like I think there's a real advocacy nature about
Yeah.
Capricorns. Like we want to go to bat for someone. We
Yeah.
want to, fight for justice. And
Yeah.
so if we feel like someone was wronged or something was wrong, we're going to fucking speak our mind about it. And that's where a lot of conflict comes.
Totally. And I think like really sticking to values and morals is something that Capricorns like just goes alongside with that. They're very passionate and it's pretty unwavering of like how they
Yeah.
feel. I think it's difficult to be convinced otherwise on their morals.
Yeah.
And I think it's oftentimes like used as a way to justify like standing up for somebody is like, well, this is not how it should be. Which
Yeah.
I think can be both like such a great thing to have that consistency in somebody on a reality show, but at the same time it can be really limiting and like feeling other people's points of view too. And like I
Yeah.
think that can kind of contribute to the conflict, but that's what we want to see anyway, so it all works out.
Yeah. In the context of reality TV, we love
Yeah.
that conflict.
Yeah. And I think sticking to that, like confidence in values and morals can really be serve as a positive and being an anchor in relationships and being that kind of like solid person. We know what to get out of this Capricorn woman. Like Heather Dubrow has been the same. I feel like Katie Maloney has been the same. I feel like Kyle Richards has been the same in a lot of ways. So we
Yeah.
know what to get from them. And I think that can be both a good thing in friendships. And like, I know that I can go to this person for this thing because Abbi and Anna are Capricorn women and they know that I can get this from them.
Yeah.
And I really do like that what they bring to shows.
Yeah, I totally, totally agree. And like, I think also sometimes that comes out in having a smaller friend circle. Like, you
Yeah.
can get along with everybody. And one thing about Capricorns is they like to be very, very serious. Like, they take what they do so seriously,
Yeah.
but they also like to play hard. Like, they like to party, they like to have fun and be silly and let loose.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, they can get along with a wide range of people and have a fun surface time. But in
Mm.
terms of those deeper relationships, they tend to
Yeah.
just be, you know, smaller circles.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think that's also kind of like what you were saying about keeping people at an arm's length to a certain degree. Like there is this emotional dissonance a little bit. And I think it just takes a lot of time and patience. And I think also for me, like I need to be shown that you can be trusted.
Yep.
And like it doesn't happen easily for me. So,
Yeah.
you
Assume
know.
the worst until you prove me otherwise.
What a
Which is like,
great way to live.
who doesn't want to be friends with a Capricorn now?
Yeah, I know. We sound like such a great time.
We're selling it.
It
Yeah.
but in all fairness too, like I just feel like Capricorns do give this like incredibly stylish and like amazing vibe. Like when they're part of a friend group, I feel like they just stand out amongst the rest. And again, Katie Maloney's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Just amongst the cast in VPR, she just to me like really stands out in that her personality is so clear in how she presents herself, and it's very serious.
Yeah. It's so true. I also like, I know we'll get into breaking that down a little bit more, but I love how their style progresses over time,
Yeah.
just like seeing those when they get more comfortable expressing themselves
Yeah.
and stepping outside of that box. It's just so cool. And we do have some reference photos that we will share on social media. But most of the photos of Capricorns that we pulled, they're like all wearing black.
Yeah, it's
A
so
Capricorn
true.
is always prepared for a funeral.
Yeah, that or neon.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing. I don't know. We like
I
a
see
pop
that
of
in you
color.
too. Yeah. I
It's
feel like it's
true.
either like black because and we're so used to that, or it's like just straight up see me and see me now. But it is kind of like neon, I feel like brings an intensity the same way that black does, just in a very
Yeah.
different way. So I kind of get it.
So true. That's
Yeah,
deep, Anna.
thank you.
I feel like you're very much like earth tones. Like you really bring that earth energy to your
Mm.
Capricorn looks.
Thanks. Oh, that's
Yeah.
such a compliment. Yeah, I feel like that's something about Capricorns that I really resonate with is more of the like earth. I really resonate with being an earth sign. I think it would feel really weird for me to not be an earth sign. It really resonates with me.
Yeah.
But definitely if I'm dressing up the way that a real housewife would, I more align myself with wearing like darker colors. I think I would be less inclined to wear bright. Not to say that Capricorns can, but it's funny how we see that being kind of like reflected in shows. And I think I would be more like Heather than anything else,
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think sometimes they can dress really conservatively, but
Yeah.
there's always something that's like a little bit outside the box, a little
Yeah.
bit like pushing the envelope, kind of testing the waters with
Yeah.
some bold statement. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. 100%. So I am curious as to why we don't really see many Capricorns reflected in shows because while doing some preliminary research, Abby like kind of pulled together a list and there's not really a whole lot that we see reflected.
No.
It may be because we are more of like a serious type and our humor is more sarcastic. It's a little drier. Like I think people may read it almost like Mary Cosby on Salt Lake City, which is
I
not how we want it to
I've
land.
never been more offended in my life, Anna. So thank you for that.
It's not what it's meant to
hmm
give. Don't put me in that same box,
No, no, no.
please. But yeah, like a little bit less involved in drama to a certain extent, just because we do think so logically.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I think it can be a barrier. And like, one of the shows that I think about is Love Island. And
yeah,
how you have such a short amount of time to put yourself out there, make your move, get to know someone,
yeah.
wear your heart on your sleeve. And like Capricorns do not be wearing their heart on their sleeves.
No,
Like, and
no.
so I feel like that's a really tough kind of environment for someone who has that Capricorn energy. That's going to be
Yeah,
like a lot of pressure, really outside the box. Doesn't mean it's not possible, and we've seen
yeah,
it. But I think sometimes first impressions are a little bit tough for Capricorns. There's like resting bitch face.
yeah,
There's like being kind of uh I don't know, just sometimes that off-putting vibe at
yeah,
first, or I've been told tough to read energy, and I don't know if that's just a me thing or a Capricorn thing. I feel like
yeah,
it's kind of a Capricorn thing. Um,
yeah. That's funny. I was actually just gonna ask, like, what have people have said about you, like meeting you for the first time? Because a lot I've gotten really similar feedback. Like, I've been told that I'm intimidating, which is so funny
Yes.
because to me, like, that is just not who I am. So it's
No, it's
pretty
not.
hilarious that I come off because I'm also a Capricorn rising too. So like I find it really interesting that that's how I come off to people, but could not be further from the truth. I don't give a shit who you are.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really funny, like knowing you to think of you getting that feedback. Because yeah, I've been told that. So I have an older brother,
Mhm.
and in school, like he would always tell me what his friends were saying about me or thinking about me. And he's
Oh,
like, "All my
nice.
friends think you're intimidating." You know, how siblings
Yeah.
be. But yeah, I've always been told that I'm intimidating, or people are just like not sure how to read me, or they don't know what I
Yeah.
think, like they can't tell what's going on. And I'm like, well, why don't you just fucking ask? But okay. Seems simple to me,
I love
but
that.
here we are.
Here we are yet again.
Yeah. I mean,
Still
hey,
confused.
it's fair. I do have resting bitch face, and I get it, but like, I don't know. I also don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. And we're fucking busy bitches. Like we are very, like I said, like align ourselves very deeply to our work. And I think we do keep such a short circle of people around us that we've invested a lot of time and energy into. So for me personally, like I'm not the kind of gal that's like looking for to meet a ton of new friends. As they come to me, that's fantastic and I welcome
Yeah.
it. But I don't know. I can totally see that being kind of like just in the casting pool. I can see it being smaller, you know?
Yeah. So, so true. Yeah. I think um like I totally agree, just being open to meeting other people, but it
Yeah.
does take a lot of time to really show your true colors and like get outside of your
Yeah.
comfort zone and start to feel like comfortable or safe enough with a person to really be yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that can be a huge barrier. But like you said, also just working and being busy. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of Capricorns, maybe they're going to be hesitant to
Hmm.
dedicate their time to a TV show that could be seen as like frivolous and not
Yeah.
serious,
Yeah.
where, their self image is going to be like altered in some way, you know?
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, because I'm even thinking about like some housewives or some reality stars that like you can see the way that they intertwine their business with the show. And so it's kind of like all being seen as one sort of like way of marketing to a certain extent, which to be honest, I'd probably do the exact same thing if I were in that position. But
100%.
it is like interesting to see that it's less of the like vulnerable side and more of the like, this is what I'm doing with my fabulous life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think as we've been kind of talking about how like Capricorns relate to other people and like, some zodiac connections that we have as Capricorns and opposite to us is Cancer, which I think is could not be further from the truth. Like cancers are literally opposite to us.
Well, my husband is a Cancer,
Hmm.
but he has a Capricorn moon.
God bless him.
Thank
God
God for
bless him.
that. Yeah, and it is true. Like there is a complete opposite in terms of Cancer kind of being seen as, like, just to quickly summarize, not trying to stereotype or say all, but like Cancer is being seen as like the emotional sign,
Right.
and Capricorn's being seen as the emotionless sign.
Hmm.
That in itself. But Cancers and Capricorns both really value security and
Yeah.
family and loyalty and consistency. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of opposite, but I think if you have enough earth energy to kind of anchor you,
Yeah.
then it can be okay. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a ton of Cancer friends. I feel like we balance each other out really well. And I think like the logic to the emotion, like that balance can be a really great thing. I also think it really depends on, like you said about your husband's like moon sign. Like, I think that can really be a contributing factor too, because if the moon sign is off, honey, like,
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like
Yeah.
that can really contribute to it. And a lot of my Cancer friends have Taurus moons, and I feel like that earth balance is really good for
Yeah.
me. Lots of groundedness and lots like I need that earth energy so much.
Yeah. It's so true. So
Mhm.
true.
I
Yeah.
mean, the other thing that we also did talk about in our first episode as well is that we were raised by Taurus people too.
Yeah.
So I feel like we are Capricorns that have just been around that earth energy.
Yeah, there's so much earth energy. And again, my rising is Taurus, so there's just
Right.
lots to anchor us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really does play a part.
I also feel like because another good friend of ours is a Virgo, and it is interesting to think of like the ways that we, again, another earth sign, like we just need to be around that energy.
Literally, yeah.
But, having like intellectual conversations and practical, hardworking people, I feel like work ethic is something that's really difficult for me to kind of like look past in somebody that I'm getting to know. That's hard for me to sort of compromise on.
Yeah. I feel the same way. And I think it also, at least the way I've seen it play out in our friendships, is having friends who are also working hard and on that
Yeah.
grind. We have this like unspoken agreement that we're doing something that really matters. We're doing
Yeah.
something that we're really proud of and we're really passionate about. And so we have this kind of agreement that it's okay to have some space between each other or not talk all the
Yeah.
time or see each other all the time because we're doing our thing and we're like applauding each other from afar.
That's so true. Yeah, that is so true. I feel
But
like, sorry, go
it's
ahead.
it's hard though with Virgo because they retreat naturally. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that can be a little tricky too. And we'll see that as we kind of go through some of the Capricorns. They get along with Virgos, but they also clash with Virgos.
Yeah, take it away because that was what I was gonna say.
Is it?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. This is where the stars align for us.
Yes, it does. Yeah, there's been some Virgo tension that we've seen in Real Housewives. Heather and Tamara on OC, like we just kind of finished talking about last week. That's been an interesting dynamic for them this season. I think even them like sitting across from each other at the reunion, the visuals coming to mind. Yeah, they had a lot of tension this year. And I think it's interesting to me that Tamara's a Virgo.
I know. I know. I would love to know more about her chart because she
Yeah.
definitely doesn't uh strike me as a Virgo,
Yeah.
but I can see it in terms of like keeping a lot to yourself, keeping a lot in.
Hmm.
Um, and I think like only spending time with people that you're really aligned with, like being very picky about who you spend your time with. I think that's true in some ways,
Yeah.
especially with her deeper friendships.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a lot that I don't see. And so I
Hmm.
just wonder, I don't know, what is portrayed on the show versus what
Who
is
she
maybe
is.
true for who she really is behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
that is so true. I actually just did a quick Google search and I found a Reddit thread that said Tamara's birth chart is so scary. I think
Oh,
that's really funny. So her Mars actually, which is like the planet that rules conflict, that's kind of a very simplified way of saying that, is in Scorpio, which to me actually does make sense because I feel like Tamara just brings up shit from the past and like
yeah.
really will hold on to grudges and say that things are fine but not, and then still have that like water sign like esque vibe to it where she'll be like, you know what, I love you and let's just like move on. Like to me
Yeah.
that is so Scorpio.
Oh my God. I completely agree. I can see that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense.
Yeah, what
Interesting.
else? I mean, her rising appears to be Virgo as well, but her moon's in Leo,
That makes
so
sense to me.
yeah, that makes sense.
Wow, what a ride.
Yeah, what a ride, truly. I do see a lot of conflict between the two of them, mainly just in like the logical sense of things coming from Heather, of course, and then Tamara
Yeah.
just being so like all over the place and kind of unclear of like what she means and where she's coming from and what she said. Like it's just a bit much. And so I love the way that Heather kind of handles Tamara on the show.
Yeah. And I think that aggravates Tamara even more when she
Yeah.
doesn't get the reaction or the response that she thinks she's pulling up with this like huge
Yeah.
case and she's like, see, huh? And Heather's like, I don't care.
And I think that's really where Heather and maybe other Capricorns get this, vibe of being better than other people. It's more of a projection, I think, just because we know how to handle shit.
But I can totally see why people would maybe think that Capricorns think they're better, because in some
Yeah.
ways we are better, but
Mm-hmm.
not in every way. We will
No,
also
we all
very
have our
quickly
shit.
admit our flaws because
Yes,
we're very
100%.
self-deprecating.
Yes. Marisol and Nicole. I love Marisol so much. I'm a big fan of Marisol.
Yeah, I am too. She's very funny.
Yeah.
Near the end of the last season, she was starting to give me a little bit of like Mary Cosby vibes in terms of like,
Mm.
you're not having fun. Like, why are you here? But we're definitely not at Mary Cosby
No.
level with that. She does crack me up. She's very funny, but I also really like Nicole.
Yeah,
And
me
so I was
too.
kind of like, oh, yeah, I felt a little disappointed with the way Marisol was handling some of the conflict, but
Yeah.
I could totally see why it was happening. I feel like
Yeah,
they
for
just
sure.
clash.
Yeah, and I think like Marisol is kind of showing that same like rigid thinking. Like I think she thinks very traditionally, especially in like Nicole's situation, and like is having a hard time kind of seeing Nicole's perspective on things. So I totally see that stubborn Capricorn mountain goat come out,
Yeah, it's
you know.
so true. Just not gonna let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kyle, who's I love talking about Kyle. Heather and Kyle are like two of my favorite housewives to talk about. Her
Yeah,
conflict with Vanderpump. I think Vanderpump's a Virgo.
he
Um,
is. Yeah.
yeah, their relationship I love so much. When things were good, I loved seeing them bond on camera. It
Me
was so
too.
sad to me when they broke up.
Yeah, I feel like it was so dumb too. Like when you look back,
I
we
know.
don't really know everything that went on, perhaps, but I just feel like nobody even remembers why they actually were fighting, and it just was
Yeah.
blown up to be such a big thing out of proportion.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's where it's something that I think Capricorn and Virgo actually have in common, but in
Yeah.
this case, they clashed and it worked against each other, where they both
Yeah.
put that wall up. And as soon
Mhm.
as someone breaks your trust, or as soon as you feel like I can't trust you anymore, or
Done.
like, yeah, it's someone gives me the ick or whatever it is, like you're done. Like
Yeah.
I will never ever trust you again. That's it. Like goodbye.
I feel like it's just we're very sensitive to like people's intentions, I feel like even from a
Yeah.
very like from the beginning. Yeah, that's so true. I
It's
really
true.
resonate with that.
Capricorns talk a big game, like a big, tough game, but we're little sensitive babies inside.
Yeah.
And I can't
Yeah.
believe I just put that on camera, but maybe that's a sign of growth, but it's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, we are multifaceted people, in signs, and we're not one thing or another. So it's just to what degree, you
So
know.
true. Yeah. So true. Well
I'm
said.
giving you a reason to back out of it,
You
so
are, and I
just
love it.
take
I'm
it.
taking every ounce of it.
One Capricorn I honestly hate to talk about is Yolanda, but it's inevitable.
I know. It was inevitable when I put her name down. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think like I like her style. Like I like her style.
Sorry, when you said that, I
um
don't know why my brain immediately went to that music video of her on that plane for David Foster. Like her little flight attendant outfit, singing, I don't even know what
I
just
don't
came to
remember what it
mind.
was, but yeah, that was yeah, something else.
But yes,
She's bold. She be making moves.
yeah,
But
she do.
yeah, definitely traditional, like
Yes.
very traditional with her views and
Views,
values.
values.
We'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot to me that is super redeeming about Yolanda. I
Mm,
usually don't agree with her on things.
yeah.
Like she does wear a lot of black and kind of neutral colors, and like, you know, minimal makeup, and sometimes she's making like bold choices, and I think yeah, like those are on the surface characteristics that I see, but I don't know. I see her as like this toxic positivity kind of person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. I feel like another trait of hers is just very hardworking. Like, her
Yeah,
whole story and her background is incredibly dedicated and hardworking. So
that's
that
true.
was something that she did bring to the show. But even thinking now in her conflict with Lisa Rinna, like Rinna is a Cancer, so she's very like, put it all out there, like apologize to me, and like I this, and Yolanda just wasn't giving it back to her. And I think
Mm-hmm.
again that kind of creates a similar dynamic that Heather Dubrow had in OC, where it's kind of coming off better than you. But
Yeah.
I think that's just how she's communicating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't have that much to say about Yolanda.
Me neither. I will
Sorry,
end off
girl.
that. I will
Yeah.
end off just on this, that I did see a TikTok recently. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but if I haven't, I will send it to you. It's a clip from, I think, her last reunion she was on. And I must have totally missed this when I saw it the first time, but she was like, my daughters who are, icon, Bella and
Mm-hmm.
Gigi. She's like, my daughters are better than no one, not even the people from Ohio. And when I find it, I will put it
Oh,
on Instagram for everybody to see, because it is so
please.
ridiculous. Like, I can't
Oh
believe
my
she said
gosh.
that.
Yeah, she has said some pretty outrageous things that
Yeah, to
we'll
say the
we'll maybe
least.
dive into in another episode.
Yeah, just problematic queens.
Yeah, literally.
And we have, actually, I'm really surprised that Emily from OC is a Capricorn. I didn't realize she was one.
Yeah. Yep. And I know we did talk, well, I talked a little bit about my
Yeah.
feelings of Emily,
Hmm.
so I don't need to rehash that too much, and we'll get into it a little bit. But yeah, she is a Capricorn.
Mm.
Again, I can see it with her work, like particularly her work with the Innocence Project,
Yeah.
that kind of social justice
Hmm.
advocate part of her. I really respect that, and I see that a lot, and I'm glad she has so much independence and drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where it
That's
ends for
Emily.
me.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like the Capricorn on Capricorn conflict here in OC. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like, and like I said this in the last episode too, I feel like I see myself in both of them. So to know that they're both Capricorns is actually does make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I think I see Capricorns in sometimes a bit of a rigid way, and people's birth charts, and like I said, people are multifaceted, so it can be a bunch of different contributing factors as to why Emily's coming off a different way. It's probably her
Of
rising,
course.
you know, or her
If I
Mars.
had to pick, yeah. No, for sure. It's
Yeah.
true. Sometimes I just hope for better representation of
Yeah, I was
Capricorn,
gonna say, how do
but
you how do you feel about how Capricorns are showing up on not just Housewives, but other, dating shows and other reality shows that we see?
I think for the most part, we're doing okay. Like for
Yeah,
the
we're doing
most part,
okay.
I stand by, and I think that it's kind of like for the most part, choosing quality over quantity. And
Yep.
that is totally the Capricorn way.
Yep.
So I'm good to have less representation, but hopefully more accurate representation.
I love that. Okay, go off.
Mm.
I love the quality over quantity.
That's how we roll.
Love it. That's also the Taurus in you coming
I
out.
know. It's where is the line?
Yeah.
It's
Where
true.
do I end and begin?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, so going back to just some examples of Kyle, being obviously an iconic Capricorn, it's interesting that, she's obviously married to a Cancer, I believe, Mauricio, or I guess they're
Yeah.
splitting up, so we'll
Mauricio. They are
see.
still married, okay?
Yeah, I'll hold on to it while they're still legally married for as long as I possibly
You
can.
should, yeah.
I'm pretty devastated by that, because I feel like, we talked, like you mentioned earlier, about the stability aspect of what Capricorns and Cancers both like. And I
Mhm.
think that was something that they had for sure. Like, their relationship on camera was giving stability and like commitment and family oriented. And I'd love
Yeah.
seeing that for her. It was healing for my Capricorn self to see another Capricorn
Aw.
woman be taken care of like that.
I know. It was so nice. Like, regardless of what happens with their marriage, we did have that whole time to just see them be happy and treat each other with respect and
Yep.
dignity. And like, it was so nice to see a healthy relationship on a show where we don't always see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really respect like the way that they're going about it,
Yeah.
being really careful, being really respectful of each other,
Yeah.
not, giving personal information away.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, just the way they seem to be talking about it is just super respectful of each other.
Yeah, and it's actually funny you say that because there's I forget her last name, but Lisa from Real Housewives of Miami, she's going through a pretty public divorce right now. That is
Yeah.
very, very awful, and I'm definitely here for it. But it's so interesting to see the different ways that different housewives kind of talk about what's happening with them behind the scenes. And I think Kyle's approach to this is so Capricorn. And
Yeah.
neither good or bad, but just kind of it just is what it is. Like the way that they've handled it is very different. And yeah, it's just I feel like it's very reflective of her star sign.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also know Kyle is really good friends with Teddy Mellencamp, who is also a Cancer.
Yes.
So that's kind of nice to see too. I feel like there's a lot of, we're back to that Cancer Capricorn
Mhm.
relationship. It can either be
Yeah.
such a strong bond or just complete clashing.
Yeah, I really did love seeing their friendship on camera. I think it's when it was the first few seasons that I feel like we really got to know Kyle on a deeper level. That was aside from drama. I feel like she was more of her like silly self around uh
Yeah.
Teddy and yeah, I really like their dynamic. I mean, Teddy's a whole other conversation, I feel like, since leaving the show. And I think her
Yeah.
connection with Tamara has been very interesting to see.
Yeah.
But their friendship, I've always thought was really sweet. And yeah, it's just another duo that I think works.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I also really liked seeing Kyle's style develop. Like, I think we just have
Yeah.
to recognize what it was. Like, it is what it is when we were in the early 2000s still or coming out of that era.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter who it was just going to be bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that
But
comes alongside a lot with her confidence too. Like she talked a lot about having like she would make really self-deprecating jokes, which I know is like a pretty common thing for Capricorns as well to do. But she kind of was doing that a lot to herself, and I think she's doing it a little less now and has really come out of her shell. So I love seeing her style develop.
yeah, no, same to me. When thinking about, her Capricorn representation, I feel like for me, she really represents, and she's
Yeah.
definitely one of the top queens that I think about in reality TV. She has set the bar so high.
Yeah, that's so true. Kind of said it better.
Oh man. So who else do we have? We have Heather. We've talked about
Mhm.
Heather.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty extensively in the last episode if
Yeah.
you missed that. Um, but I know she's really good friends with Alexis Bellino. We heard a little bit about that
Oh
at
my
the
gosh.
reunion.
Yeah.
She wants Alexis to come back. Alexis
Yeah.
is a Capricorn as well, who was previously on OC for one or two, couple seasons
Yeah.
maybe.
Definitely two. Yeah,
It
definitely
was
two.
a while ago, so
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so there's the, Capricorn and Capricorn friendship, which I feel like again, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. But in their case, it's good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that while watching that part of the show. And now that I'm thinking about it, like her real desire to be working and kind of separate herself from her husband's dynamic, I think makes a lot of sense now,
Yeah.
like looking back on that. And yeah, that I mean, she definitely isn't giving Capricorn and more. I think she's a bit more emotional than I would maybe expect, but
Yeah.
I think that also comes with a lot of shit that she was going through personally at that time. But yeah, her drive to work and to be a news anchor it was certainly there, whether it was, unfounded or not.
I know. Yeah, I did. I think that's such a good point. I think we did see a lot of emotion from her, and there was a
Yeah.
lot going on. I always really liked her, but I obviously hated her husband. He seemed
Yeah.
like hot garbage, but not hot, just like
Just garbage.
stinky, stinky hot garbage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I would be really curious to have her back on the show and see what she's all about these days,
Yeah.
being separated from her husband and being a working woman and I'd give her another chance.
I love that. yeah, I feel like I would need a little like refresh to see how things are going in her life to kind of fully have an opinion on Alexis. But
That's
I did
fair.
actually just like check out her Instagram the other day briefly, and she recently left her fiance, so not looking
Okay.
great. But well,
Okay.
we wish you the best, girl.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we love when a woman is picky about a man. So
Yeah, yeah, I'll take
who
it.
knows? But yeah, I don't know what she's been up to lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting to see like Heather. I can see a lot of similarities between the two of them.
Hmm.
Um,
For
and
sure.
Heather's husband, Terry, he's a Virgo. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow, look at these earth signs and water
I
babies.
know. Just sticking together for that security.
Yeah, interesting. I
Yeah.
feel like I guess it would be my dynamic that's kind of more of left field because I feel like you're aligning with the Capricorn Cancer. I'm with a Gemini, which I feel like is kind of coming out of left field. But I did also read this thing about compatibility for the two of them, which we can get into another time. But it's so interesting to see these patterns, and I'm just sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
I got that air.
Yes, that's something else. Yeah, I have family members who are Geminis, and
Yeah.
yeah, you just never know. But I also think like your lifestyle can really shape how much you're impacted by those qualities.
So
Like,
true.
right, with Heather and Terry both working a lot or being busy and kind of
Yeah.
they're each doing their own things. They have a lot of independence.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
the
true.
time they spend together is much more quality. But like if they had to be in lockdown together through COVID,
Mm,
I don't know if it would have been,
that's so
shaking things
true.
up a little bit.
Yeah, I would be really curious to see how all these relationships were in COVID.
Yeah.
Speaking of unexpected relationships, I want to talk about Katie Maloney and how she shows up in her relationship with Schwartz.
Oh
She
man.
to me is quintessential like Capricorn woman, do not fuck with me vibes. Her way that she handles conflict is unfortunately accurate.
I don't know. I see when I think about what we've seen in Katie
Mhm.
on VPR, I think about like old me, like
Yeah.
me when I was younger. I think
Hmm.
about like unresolved trauma,
Yeah.
unhealed Abby in high school and
Mm.
like that reactivity and
Hmm.
um just like in your rightness at times. Um I don't know. I Katie doesn't really do it for me.
Hmm.
There are things about her that I really like and really respect. And I will say, I'm leaving room to continue getting to know Katie as she is a single woman, or at least not with Schwartz. I really find that I like her more when she's independent, when
Yeah.
she's standing her ground, doing things for herself,
Yeah.
and just get that woman away from the drama. Just get her
Yeah.
away from all the toxicity.
It's so true. And she tries to get away from it, like, and it literally just follows her around.
See, I feel like she wants to be
Yeah,
around it.
actually,
I feel like she instigates a lot.
yeah, no, you're actually right. I was kind of having this visual of like her literally running away from Raquel like the last episode, being like, I just want to talk to Schwartz, like I just want to get this resolved. And she's like, I just want to like have you see my perspective. Like, I just don't think Katie thrives in
No,
that kind of
bitch.
environment. She literally was like, I'm done, I'm tapping out, get the fuck away from me. And I think like that is how what was coming to mind. But I do agree that for the last several seasons and years that we've
Yeah.
known Katie, it has been a lot of instigating. And I think it was interesting to see in the most recent season too of like her going to Mexico, even though she was no longer invited to Sheena's wedding. I really didn't sit well with me. And
Yeah.
although it could be seen as like, yeah, girl boss, like doing whatever you want, I really didn't like that. And I think that was such a good example of her like not saying verbally, I want to fight, like doing things that
You
show
didn't
that.
have to. Yeah, your
Yeah.
actions spoke volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like her going on the trip in itself would have been like, okay, like take something negative or something that was, toxic or whatever, and turn it into a
Sure.
positive, do
Yeah.
something for yourself, but not giving the room back to the bridesmaid who needed it. Like, you could have gone somewhere else, just enjoy your time, but clearly you were like still wanting to instigate and
Yeah.
stir shit up, because she did go out of her way several times to do that.
Oh yeah, like sitting at the restaurant like that had the front row view of Sheena's rehearsal dinner was like so weird to watch. And like there was a scene where they weren't even really trying to show that Katie was there, but it just like she just was like in the back of like all of these
Yeah.
shots, and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And
Um,
look, I feel like it would be hard when your ex-husband is there, because it's like you've
for
had
sure.
this life together. If you feel like this person who's been such a big part of your life is there,
Mhm.
that's going to be hard to kind of get away from, but maybe that's the reason to just steer clear altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it does come down to like she's still working on, I think, choosing herself. And I don't know the girl, obviously, but from what she's shared on camera and was talked about in the show, like it was really difficult for her to end her marriage just in the spirit of choosing herself. And so I think that's definitely a skill that takes a lot of time. And I know that they were
Yeah.
pretty fresh in their separation at that point. And they were going out for dinner still, and Shorts is still in a position where he was like going over and like talking to her, and it was definitely a strange dynamic. So I hope that in this new season we'll see a different side of Katie, because she just really didn't thrive with him and
No.
really impacted her. So
Yeah, not at all. And
we'll
actually,
see.
that scene that you're talking about where she walked away from Mikkel, like, that is where I started to be like, okay, maybe there's a turning
Yeah.
point here. Maybe we'll see another
Yeah.
side of Katie moving forward, because I
Yeah.
feel like she did really well to handle that situation. And Raquel was totally instigating, not respecting her very clear boundaries. And Tom obviously stood there like a moron and did nothing to help her or support her in that situation, which that's what we can expect from Tom. So I
Yep.
am open to seeing what happens next for her.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Stassi, I think being a Cancer, but I think still very similar to Katie in the bluntness of things has
Yeah.
been I love their dynamic. And I it's a complicated thing why Stassi's obviously not on the show anymore, but their dynamic off camera I really do love to see. I love to see their friendship continuing. So another
Yeah.
Cancer Capricorn friendship that we
So
see.
true. Yeah. I will also say I do really love Katie's style though, what she's doing lately, and
Yeah.
like this rock and roll feminine blend. Like, it's just, I'm liking it.
Yeah,
So
it is very it's definitely giving Capricorn, and like her hair is amazing. It's just
yeah.
so good on her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Another shocker was Dolores
Oh
Catania.
my God. Yeah.
I love this. I feel like it makes actually a lot of sense with like what you were talking about like trying to keep the peace and trying to like mediate between people. I think Dolores really does that well, especially with Teresa and Melissa on the show. But holding on to those traditional values, like, oh my gosh,
I know.
she's a hard person to sway like to feel differently.
She is. Yeah, it's so true. Once she has her beliefs about something,
Hmm.
she is set in her ways and there's no changing her mind. And even when that trust is broken, as soon as you've decided to put this wall up, we
Yeah.
see that with her ex-husband Frank, where he's kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. We see that quite a few times, and she's just like not having it.
Yeah.
She's done.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely see the Capricorn vibes in her, putting family first, just trying to like resolve things, like you said, but
Yeah.
sometimes hard to read.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely hard to read. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like she's definitely somebody who I at times have struggled to kind of understand where she's coming from, and have had a difficult time sort of wrapping my head around how traditional she can be
Yeah,
about things. But ultimately she is such a ride or die, and like incredibly loyal, and
totally.
that's something I love to see represented. And she's got good style, I'd say.
I like her style. I think it's
Yeah, she's
cute.
fun.
Like, yeah, she sometimes is a little rocker, but with a twist of feminine with her little dresses. And
Yeah, for
I like
sure.
most of what she wears. Yeah.
Yeah. So love to
And
see it.
yeah. And so she's really close with Teresa, who is a Taurus.
The
And
same signs are
so
just being said over and over.
I
It's
know,
so
but
wild.
like there's like a science to this, I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Yeah.
And her ex Frank, so he's a Scorpio,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Which
can
is Schwartz
see,
was too to Katie.
right, that's right.
So
Yes,
weird.
so the exes are Scorps, and her
Yeah.
new boyfriend is a Cancer.
What?
I
This is
know.
so wild.
So moving away from that like kind of fluid, like hard to anchor into
Yeah.
Scorpio vibe into the Cancer
Yeah.
security family. Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
interesting.
Moving away from rigid into balance.
I
Period.
guess. Yeah, yeah. Period.
Is there anybody else that's coming to mind for you that's a Capricorn? That's all I can think of.
Well, I know Emily
Oh
is,
yeah.
we talked about Emily as well. I'm not going to rehash all of that. You can go and watch episode 4 if you want to hear my thoughts on
Yeah.
Emily. But I know that she's really close with Gina, who is a Taurus as
Oh
well.
my
And her husband, Shane, guess what his sign is?
Cancer?
He's a fucking Cancer.
Shut the fuck
I
up.
know. Can you believe that?
Yeah, this is so wild.
I know. And I
Why
am
it's
shocked that he's a Cancer.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like for me with cancers, it's like you're either one way or the other, where
Yeah.
you're like this like annoying, whiny, like man child, or you're like all about security and like
That's so funny.
this me being totally exaggerated and
Yeah.
yeah, but no, it's yeah,
It's that black or white thinking.
it truly is. Um, yeah, and so Marisol as well, she's besties with Alexia, who is a Taurus. So that earth grounding energy, we're anchoring into each other as friends. And her husband Steve, he is a Virgo.
Okay. So it's still the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that is so funny.
I know. I know.
It's like you could literally create a formula of how to be a Capricorn, who to be friends with at this
Yeah.
point.
I know. It's so true. Um okay, so there's a couple others I just wanted to touch on, and I know that you haven't seen the latest on these ones, so I'm just gonna go over it quickly. That's
I
okay.
feel like I'm a bad Bravo fan, but girl, there's a lot of content coming out.
There's so much, and
It's
there's a
so
lot that
much.
I haven't seen. So
Thanks, B.
yeah, no, it's all good. So one is Sierra from Summer House. And she's been on, I think, the last couple seasons. I'm still wrapping up. But she's a Capricorn. She is a boss ass bitch. I fucking
Yay.
love her. She fucking represents.
Okay, love it.
So she's a nurse, and
Okay.
she comes into the house like through the COVID pandemic and talking about like the struggle of being a nurse through the pandemic and just really dealing with like witnessing so much grief and so
Wow.
much like hardship. So she brings a lot of really grounded
Mhm.
realness to the show, which I absolutely love. Um and she also is very sassy. She's very funny. She has a lot of really good one-liners. There was something around like don't text me after 9 p.m. because that's inappropriate. Like just like do not
I love that.
disturb my time.
Inappropriate.
Literally. Yeah, she's so funny. She can be like very serious, and she tends to be the one that everybody goes to in the house
Mm.
for, support and just for kind of a breather. But she also loves to party it up, and she loves like a costume, a theme. Oh, she's so funny. You have to
Oh.
watch it.
Okay, I'm super excited now.
Yeah. And her two best friends are both Scorpios, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You can see that. We also have on Love is Blind. So I think it was season 3 or 4. I don't really know, but Jackie on Love is Blind She stirred up a lot of controversy on the show, so I won't give too much away more just for you, Anna, because you haven't seen it. But I feel like she did represent in a way that was like really vulnerable. And I imagine there's a lot of people who disagree with that. But in terms of like her style, she has like this really sultry, kind of sexy outward appearance. She wears like the dark lipstick.
Nice.
She definitely represented in some ways. And then Taylor, who's on the most recent Love is Blind. She's a Capricorn, but she also has an Aries moon.
Yay, love to see it.
I know, which is so rare.
That is rare.
Yeah, and so you gotta watch it. It was kind of a bumpy ride for Taylor. I feel like again, she did really good to like put herself out there and be vulnerable. And she was very graceful. I felt like she was putting herself first and setting her boundaries. And the guy that she was with was a Cancer. So it was really interesting to kind of see that dynamic play out. Yeah. So I feel like those are kind of a few others just worth mentioning. And I know there's a couple others on Love Island and some of the other Housewives franchises that I haven't seen. But I mean, I would love to hear if we missed anyone that you really love, you know, to put it in the comments or let us know what you think, if the Capricorns represented or not. Who did we miss?
I'm also kind of feeling, I'm really curious if other people, like what their perception is of Capricorns, both in their life and also on screen. Like, I'm curious if they read it very differently than us because we are Capricorns and we get it and we can like resonate with them like very quickly, or if it's really coming off as like intimidating, kind of the words that we'd used earlier. Like, I
can be completely unbiased, Anna. What do you mean?
I'm able to see outside myself all the time.
Oh man. Yeah.
No, but it's just curious, you know?
It's so true. I feel like when I hear other people talk about Capricorns, or even just like you see lots of memes and stuff online, Capricorn tends to be one of those signs that's seen as like toxic. And like, you know, oh, I'm so sorry for your, you know, post-dating Capricorn trauma. Like
that's so funny. I mean,
we're not alone up there. Like,
no, we're certainly not. And I think like every sign has its red flags. So
always,
we at least we're hardworking and we
we bring something to the table at least.
I know, every time I'm feeling like, sometimes I'll see other memes where it's like a ton of other signs and their pictures of things. I'm like, oh, they're just so cute. And ours is always like, where's my money? Like a money hungry capitalist monster.
Oh my God. We do love money though.
Yeah, I just love it. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just love it.
You don't ever have to apologize for that.
Thanks, you. Well, that's it for me for this week's episode. I'm really looking forward to continue to talk about other people's signs. I think that could be like something that we continue to bring up, and in conversations about people that we're talking about and judging, we can always talk about their signs.
So true. Yeah, that was fun kind of reviewing, and leave a comment. Let us know if we missed anything, or if there's someone else, you know, other thoughts. We'd love to hear what everybody else thinks. So stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you next time on Can't Be Bothered.
Bye, everybody.